I'm the childhood sweetheart of one of New York's most powerful heirs, and I'm completely obsessed with his looks. But he's way more innocent than the other guys in his circle. 6 years together, and he's never even let me hold his hand. I've been bouncing back and forth between the frustration of not getting what I want and the excitement of training him after we're married. That all changed on my 24th birthday, when a picture of him in bed with another woman landed on my phone. I saw red. I gave him 2 choices: explain everything in 3 sentences, or prove his innocence with his body. He didn't choose. He ran. A few minutes later, he popped up on another woman's social feed. Fine. If I can't have his heart, I'll have his body. So I took what I wanted from the high society prince. The next time we met, I was in a VIP lounge at a high-end mall. I was visibly pregnant, and he had me completely surrounded by a wall of bodyguards. You thought you could just sleep with me and run? Where's your sense of responsibility? Every year for my birthday, Jack Sterling gets me a thoughtful, elaborate gift. But I never expected this year's to be a bombshell. A photo of him in bed with another woman. High residential and completely uncensored. You'd have to be blind to claim it was photoshopped. In the picture, Jack's eyes were closed, his expression a mix of restraint and pain. He was wearing loose pajama pants, and his 8-pack was clearer than my 5-year plan. A pair of hands with blood-red nails covered his chest in a way that screamed intimacy. The woman, wearing a pink silk slip dress, lay beside him, her face a mask of pure provocation as she stared into the camera. Damn it. I'm Jack's girlfriend. We've been together for 6 years, and he's never even held my hand. So every year, my birthday wish has been to finally get my hands on him. The wish went unanswered year after year, only to be granted for someone else. As the heir to the Sterling fortune, Jack doesn't go anywhere without at least 18 bodyguards. Not just anyone can get close to him. And the background of the photo was his bedroom, a room I've slept in many times. The kind of sleeping where if I was in the bed, he wasn't, and vice versa. I traced the outline of his abs on my phone screen as angry tears streamed from the corners of my mouth. After wiping them away, I pulled my sexiest, fire engine red silk slip from the closet and dialed Jack's number. This year's birthday wish was going to come true, one way or another. And then I was kicking this handsome cheater to the curb. For the past 6 years, aside from the no-touching rule, Jack has been absolutely perfect. For example, no matter how busy he was, one call from me and he'd show up faster than a food delivery. When Jack walked in, he looked completely normal, with no hint of guilt or any intention of explaining himself. But his cheeks were flushed, and his sharp, captivating eyes held a hint of desire. It only made him more irresistible. Damn it. I shoved him into the bathroom. Go wash up. And use plenty of bleach while you're at it. To my surprise, he went in without a fight. He'd always refused to shower or stay the night at my place before. It was like he was allergic to my water. I lay on my side on the couch, plotting my next move. I was so lost in thought that I didn't realize Jack was out until a drop of water landed on my nose. He had the deep V-neck men's robe I'd bought him wrapped tightly around himself. Seriously? Other women get to see his abs and touch his chest, but I can't even get a glimpse of his collarbone. He's 6'2", so the robe should have only reached mid-thigh, but he'd wrapped a bath towel underneath it. The whole thing now stretched down to his calves. He wouldn't even let me see his knees. I rolled my eyes hard. Suppressing my frustration, I gritted my teeth. Jack, you have 2 choices. Explain everything in 3 sentences, or prove your innocence with your body. You pick. He was silent for a long time, which I took as him choosing the second option. My hand, resting on my thigh, began to slide up, pulling the hem of my dress with it. More and more of my pale, slender leg was revealed. The quiet living room was filled with only the soft rustle of fabric and the sound of swallowing. One was me, the other was Jack. It was working. Just as a triumphant smirk appeared on my face, I felt a warmth on my leg as he lifted both of them. My legs were now wrapped in a blanket. He even wrapped it around me 3 times and then tucked it in tight. I cursed silently and tried to break free, but he'd wrapped it too securely. I struggled so hard that I arched my back like a gymnast. Just as I was about to roll off the couch, Jack rushed over and knelt to catch me. I felt a sudden pressure on my chest, and the room went completely silent. Jack's entire face was buried in my cleavage, his arms holding me as stiff as a board. I was stunned. This was way more intense than I had planned. The air he breathed out was scorching hot. After a long moment, he finally lifted his head, his face even redder than when he'd arrived. "Nancy." His deep, baritone voice was so rich it could get you pregnant just by listening. It sent shivers down my spine. I hooked my hand under his chin and pulled him closer, looking at that handsome face as it drew near. Such a beautiful face. Too bad it was tainted now. Our breaths mingled, and the heat between us rose, turning our cheeks crimson. It looked like my birthday wish was finally about to come true. Then, Jack's private phone rang, with a special ringtone. He jolted, stood up, and answered the call. I was close enough to hear a sweet female voice on the other end say, "Jack, I'm at." Jack walked into the guest room with his phone and came out a moment later, fully dressed. "Nancy, something came up. Your birthday gift, I'll give it to you another day." I lay flat on the couch like a beached whale. Jack was clearly turned on, and he still ran off. So, what? I'm just a rare moment of arousal for him, but the little vixen on the phone is his true love. This birthday was a total loss. I didn't get to sleep with Jack. As his girlfriend, I didn't even get an explanation about the photo. And now, I didn't even get a birthday present. I didn't cry. It just didn't feel worth being sad over. I checked my phone and saw birthday messages from my parents and my brother. I had been so confident I would conquer Jack this year that I'd told them not to fly back to celebrate with me. My bank account had a new string of numbers as long as a phone number. And I had another stack of deeds for luxury cars and properties to my name. Jack might be the prince of New York's elite. But when it came to family status, I'm a princess. If you don't love me, fine, but why hurt me? A red notification popped up on my social media feed. I clicked on it curiously. Someone had posted an update and specifically tagged me. "Dinner with my love. So happy." The post included a picture of a fancy meal. I was confused. But I clicked on it anyway, and a man's wrist in the bottom right corner caught my eye. I zoomed in, then zoomed in again. I was 100% certain it was Jack's hand. The watch on his wrist was one I'd given him, a custom piece, the only one of its kind in the world. It was Jack's favorite, something he only wore on important occasions and would never let anyone else touch. The date and time on the watch showed it was from just a few moments ago. The intricate watch face made it impossible that it was photoshopped. I looked at the poster's profile picture. What a coincidence, it was the same woman from the photo with Jack. I couldn't suppress the rage on my face. Did she really think I was a pushover? It was time to bring out the big guns. Within 10 minutes, a full dossier on the woman was on my phone. Tiffany, a D-list actress, so irrelevant she was basically a ghost in the industry. Lately, her career had seen a visible uptick, and all her new projects were from Sterling Corp. Right. Fine. Great. I didn't waste any more time. I sent a single message to my people: blacklist her. I never throw my weight around, but when someone is about to take a dump on my head, if I didn't fight back, I wouldn't be human. As for Jack, in our 6 years together, what I loved most was his face and his body. My life's motto is, no regrets. Since he wouldn't make a move, I just have to use force. The next day, before I could even call him, Jack showed up at my door to pick me up. He said he wanted to give me a belated birthday celebration. He was wearing a perfectly tailored suit, and the watch on his left wrist was the same one from last night's social media post. I got into the car without a word. As we drove, I turned to look at him. No matter the angle, he was always so incredibly handsome. Sensing my gaze, Jack looked back at me and offered a perfect, practiced smile. He was normally a very serious person, but ever since I told him I loved his smile, he would always give me that little smile whenever he looked at me, even if it was just a slight curve of his lips. I looked into his eyes. They were clear, completely untroubled. He really was a true heir, ruthless in the boardroom and completely unflappable in his personal life. I couldn't understand it. Didn't he feel even a little bit guilty? If he liked someone else so much, why not just break up with me? Our family's business had long since moved overseas, with only a small portion remaining in the country. As far as I knew, the Percy Group and Sterling Corp had no major joint projects in the works. When the car stopped, we were in front of a sea of roses. In the middle of winter, a 1,000-acre estate was covered in vibrant, blooming roses. Anyone would have to say that Jack had put in a lot of effort. They were even my favorite type of rose, one that's only grown abroad. My mood improved slightly, but then I noticed a deep pit near the villa, and some of the surrounding roses were scorched. A few workers were digging with shovels. I frowned. Jack was a perfectionist. No matter what was going on between us, our dates had always been flawless. Seeing my expression, Jack stepped in front of me. "Nancy, it's cold out here. Let's go inside first. You can look later." As soon as we entered the villa, the butler greeted us. Miss Percy, would you like to admire the flowers in the West Hall?" The young master. "Miss Tiffany? She's been here too." I tuned out the rest of what the butler was saying. It was probably something about how Jack had the roses flown in from overseas for me. It sounded romantic. But the reality was, all he had to do was give an order. Sometimes, he didn't even have to come up with the idea himself. I looked down, thinking. I realized that everything Jack had ever done for me, all the things that seemed so grand, were actually effortless for him. I was surprised to find that lunch was just a few simple home-cooked dishes. I looked 5 times, and it was still just scrambled eggs with tomatoes and spicy shredded potatoes. The 2 meat dishes were burnt. The vegetables were salty, and the meat was scorched. I put down my chopsticks after a few bites and glanced toward the kitchen. It was spotless. That confirmed Jack didn't cook it. Because he was a walking kitchen disaster, literally. He was the kind of guy who could blow a hole through the first-floor ceiling. Even the 5-meter-tall castle cake that was wheeled out after the meal felt half-assed. The details on the cake were sloppy. The little girl in front of the castle had a distorted face, and the little boy's face was crooked. Is Sterling Corp going bankrupt? Are pastry interns taking orders from the air now? A cake this big, there was no way Jack made it. His parents were gone, and he was holding up his massive company all by himself. He was always working, so busy he probably didn't even get 8 full nights of sleep in a year. Where would he find the time to bake this? Under Jack's expectant gaze, I reluctantly took a bite. It was awful. Neither the taste nor the presentation was up to par, just like the rest of the food. A rare blush appeared on Jack's face, and if I listened closely, I could hear a nervous tremor in his voice. He pulled a small box from his pocket. "Nancy, I looked at the box in his hand. This must be my birthday present. Let's see, last year he gave me a luxury yacht, the year before a private jet, and before that a company and a castle overseas." Looking at this tiny, palm-sized box, it could only hold a ring. But even for a ring, the box had a dated, cheap feel to it. The style was so old-fashioned it looked like a failed attempt at retro. And after cheating on me repeatedly, where did he get the nerve to propose? Wait. Let's go talk in the bedroom upstairs. The blush on Jack's face spread to his ears. He glanced around and saw the gossip-hungry servants, so he nodded. I went to Jack's liquor cabinet and grabbed a bottle of strong spirits and 2 glasses. I wasn't going to drug him. I wanted him to remember exactly what I was about to do to him. Jack wanted to go to his bedroom, but I refused and chose mine instead. That Tiffany woman had already been in his. The thought of using his room now grossed me out. Every property Jack owned had a room for me. His fidelity might be questionable, but in other areas, he was a decent person. The first year we were together was right after his parents passed away, the most turbulent time for Sterling Corp. Even then, for my birthday, Jack spent a fortune to buy me an antique tiara at an auction. It just so happened that Sterling Corp's biggest partner also wanted it and was willing to pay a high price, but Jack refused. Because of that, Sterling Corp's recovery was delayed by another 6 months. At the time, Jack told me that anything that was mine, he would never give to anyone else. How things change. Now, my boyfriend was being thoroughly used by someone else. All Jack had protected for me were cold, hard assets. And it's not like I didn't have plenty of those myself. When we sat down, Jack clutched that ugly ring box tightly, stealing glances at me from time to time. His face, usually an unreadable mask, was now full of obvious anticipation. I poured him a full glass of wine. Have you met anyone or experienced anything unusual lately? He must have squeezed too hard, because the ring box flew out of his hand and landed on the couch. I stopped him from picking it up. Drink first. Looking at how guilty he was, how could he possibly have the nerve to give me a ring? Jack wasn't a big drinker, and he rarely had to drink for business, so a few glasses were enough to get him tipsy. As I poured another, I accidentally spilled the wine between his legs. When Jack went to take a shower, I deliberately tried to scare him. Make sure you wash it all off. I heard alcohol can affect your performance. Jack clearly took my words to heart. He stayed in the bathroom for so long that I finished my own shower and he still wasn't out. I found a suitable rope and tested its weight in my hands. This whole elaborate plan, if he hadn't been unfaithful first, it never would have come to this. When Jack came out, he took a step back in shock at my outfit. Jack, let's play a game of trust. Do you trust me? Jack paused for a moment, then nodded without hesitation. It wasn't until he was lying on the bed with both hands tied to the headboard that he seemed to realize something was wrong. He tried to sit up, but I pushed him back down. It's not like I'm going to do anything to you. Besides, are you sure you're the one losing out here? Jack obediently lay back down. I didn't tie his legs that would make things difficult. I slowly began to untie his bathrobe. I looked calm and in control, but my heart was pounding. I swallowed hard. As the final knot came loose, I saw it. A t-shirt. Damn it. I knew anyone who double knots a bathrobe belt was up to no good. Whose idea of fashion is this? It's hard to take off a t-shirt when your hands are tied, so I brought out the scissors. Jack's modesty was astounding. Underneath the plain t-shirt was a ribbed tank top. What kind of person puts on 3 layers after a shower? My hands roamed over his body. That 8-pack felt amazing. And this chest, is this how that girl touched it? Damn it. As my hands moved, Jack's breathing grew heavy. Not important. Getting his pants off was not as easy. Jack threw his dignity to the wind, curling his legs up to stop me from pulling them down. He even pleaded with me in a hoarse voice. I've always been a bit of a monster, otherwise I wouldn't have made such a wild birthday wish every year. So when he begged, it only made me more excited. I held up the scissors and yelled at him, "Stay still. If you move and I cut the wrong thing, it's not my fault." Jack instantly went quiet. This time, he was somewhat normal, wearing only a pair of boxer briefs. Ugh. Who wears pants under a bathrobe? Seeing his impressive size, I was a little intimidated, but I had to push through. I came up with the perfect excuse for myself. Jack, you're standing at attention for me, huh? Well, I'm not one to be trifled with. I climbed on top of him. I won't say who ended up crying from the pain, and I won't say who couldn't keep up later. All I know is, one time wasn't enough to make up for the last 6 years, so I went for a second round. The third time, Jack tried to take the lead, but I just pushed him back onto the bed and covered him with a blanket. My legs were shaky as I got dressed, ready to make my escape. As I passed the couch, I saw the ring that had fallen out of the box. It was carved with 3 lifelike roses, the exact design I had once described to Jack for my dream wedding ring. I stumbled. It didn't matter anymore. I ran out of the estate, my driver already waiting for me at the gate. From now on, the world was my oyster. I had money, looks, and maybe soon, a child. That was enough. Jack was definitely potent. I was pregnant. A search online showed no news of Sterling Corp launching a massive manhunt. As for Tiffany, she had no new projects in the entertainment industry, but her social media was still a picture of serene perfection. Her lifestyle was lavish, and several of her selfies were taken inside Sterling Corp headquarters. I figured Jack was keeping her. Whatever. Not important. For the next few months, I was careful to hide, deliberately covering my tracks. Seeing that Jack hadn't come looking for me, I got bolder. For instance, right now, I was strutting through a mall in another city that was funded by Sterling Corp. With the holidays approaching, it was bustling everywhere. I bought a bunch of things, paying with cash. I got tired after a while. The line for bubble tea was long, and the aroma from a popular bakery was tempting. I sent my 2 bodyguards to wait in line while I sat in the VIP lounge. I was sighing contentedly when... Crap. Is Jack a ghost? He appeared out of nowhere, his eyes full of resentment, as if I were the scumbag who'd hit it and quit it. I calmly took out my phone and called my bodyguards. Code red, I've run into a creep. Get here now. I looked at the lone Jack smugly. Huh, you think I'm scared of him? The next second, everyone else in the lounge stood up and filed in behind Jack. 2 distinct sides, clearly drawn. You guys were in plain clothes? That's not a fair fight. I had thought it was strange when I came in, that old man's back was so hunched, poor guy. Turns out he was a mountain of muscle deliberately slouching to hide his massive chest. So all the men, women, and children in this lounge were his bodyguards in disguise, here to catch me. I sent my bodyguards a text, don't come. Otherwise, I'd be footing a very expensive medical bill. Jack knelt in front of me, his eyes red. You thought you could just sleep with me and run? Where's your sense of responsibility? I rolled my eyes, pulled my hand away from his, and deliberately wiped it with a disinfectant wipe. I wasn't the first one to sleep with you, so why should I be responsible? Before, you couldn't be bothered with me. Now that my life is perfect, you can't afford me. Jack, I have to use the restroom. The one on the top floor. Jack followed me closely, only stopping at the restroom door. I walked in, and the skylight above opened, lowering a folding ladder. Once I reached the roof, I boarded the helicopter I had just called. Before I left, I didn't forget to send Jack a taunting message, bye-bye, cheater. See you never. Maybe my last escape was too dramatic, because Jack didn't pursue me. For several months, I had a peaceful pregnancy. But as my due date approached, I started getting anxious. I heard it was incredibly painful, with risks of tearing and other complications. An C-section would leave a scar. The more I read, the more scared I became, regretting that I had been so reckless without considering the consequences. I spent a fortune searching nationwide for the best obstetrician, demanding a painless, scar-free, easy delivery. I believed in the power of money. After a rigorous screening process by my hired professionals, a doctor named Dr. Percy was chosen. Same last name as me. Bonus points. On the day of the delivery, Dr. Percy brought not only professional equipment but also a team of bodyguards. Even more ostentatious than me. But why did these bodyguards look so medical? Has the bodyguard industry diversified this much? Looking at Dr. Percy's unremarkable face, thick glasses, and receding hairline, he certainly looked experienced and trustworthy. During the selection process, anyone with a full head of hair was eliminated in the first round. In the end, it was Dr. Percy and his young female assistant who entered the delivery room. I wanted to switch assistants. This one looked inexperienced. Was she going to use me for practice? Dr. Percy had agreed to all my previous conditions, but he refused this time. Finally, he said if the assistant stayed, he'd give me a 90% discount. I thought about it and agreed. I have a natural weakness for discounts. Even though it was a water birth, it still hurt. As the pain hit, I started cursing Jack. I listed all his scummy behaviors. The more I talked, the angrier I got, and the more I got into it. I didn't notice the increasingly grim expression on Dr. Percy's face or the gossipy look on his assistants. Finally, when the pain reached its peak, I screamed, "After this baby is born, I'm moving abroad. Jack Sterling will never find me in this lifetime." "No, you're not." A familiar male voice, louder than mine, cut me off. I looked up and met the gaze of the bald man across from me. His few remaining strands of hair were swaying precariously. Yikes. It was burning my eyes. "Jack." "Nancy, it's me. Did you drink nuclear waste?" I couldn't bear to look at Jack's current appearance for another second. My eyes were stinging. Please don't tell me this is what he'll look like when he's old. Then my child will. Ugh, I don't want to give birth anymore. It was only now that I truly felt I'd made a poor choice in men. Jack started pulling at his face, contorting his features. It scared me so much that I jolted, and I felt something come out, but I couldn't be bothered with that now. I instructed the assistant, "A zombie. Quick, he's turning. Go for the head. You have to destroy the head." Hearing this, Jack panicked and pulled even harder. The assistant was laughing so hard she was clutching her stomach. Suddenly, she saw something in the water. "Whoa, the baby. You two, stop playing around and look at the baby. Hey, don't run, the umbilical cord." All in all, my delivery was chaotic and unprecedented. There was too much to even process. I was so exhausted I passed out. When I woke up again, I saw Jack's handsome face, though it was a little red. I opened my mouth, too weak to speak, but that didn't stop me from mouthing a string of curses. Jack, miraculously, understood. He explained. Those bodyguards were all doctors, on standby. The assistant next to me was the real top obstetrician. I shut my mouth. Jack gestured, and a massive screen was wheeled in. "Nancy, please direct your attention to the presentation." My executive assistant was bribed by Tiffany. They set the whole thing up. Jack held a remote, explaining the contents of the PowerPoint slide by slide. I could have cried. He was really using a PowerPoint for this. When he got to the bed photo, he even video called a Photoshop expert to professionally analyze the picture's flaws. It turned out the photo I saw was taken by his assistant while Jack was asleep, and then Tiffany had a high-end retoucher Photoshop herself in. To prove it, Jack even showed me the security footage from his house. As for his blushing and eagerness to shower when he came over, it was because he had been drugged. He got my call and rushed over before he could get treatment. He was hoping a cold shower would clear his head. The special ringtone was changed by the assistant to make me misunderstand. The call was indeed from Tiffany, but she was confessing to drugging him. Jack went into the bedroom to take the call so I wouldn't hear and get upset. And the wrist in the social media post was from when he was sitting across from her, dealing with the people involved in the drugging incident. The assistant was the one who had been giving Tiffany all her opportunities. Now, one was blacklisted, and the other was fired. Tiffany, not giving up, had disguised herself as a cleaner to get in and take more pictures to provoke me. And most of her luxury items were stolen photos. Jack took the opportunity to pledge his loyalty. I never gave her a single cent, nor have I ever given money to any other woman. He gently took my hand and leaned down to kiss it. "Nancy, you've been through so much. I love you." As usual, I quickly pulled my hand back. I couldn't reach a wipe, so I just wiped it on the bedsheet in disgust. Jack looked hurt. "I washed them." I sneered. "You're hurt by that? That's how you treated me for 6 years." Jack froze, looked around, and made sure to close the hospital room door before leaning in and whispering in my ear. From the day we got together, I've wanted you every single day. Jack's ears turned red. But you're allergic. I was confused. What are you talking about? Allergic to what? I've been healthier than my brother my whole life. I'm in peak physical condition. Your medical report said you have a latex allergy. My mouth hung open. After a moment, I gave Jack a look you'd reserve for a complete idiot. You know they make non-latex ones, right? I regretted it. I regretted educating Jack on that subject. Ever since he discovered that new world, he's completely let himself go around me. Not only does he need to be clingy every day, but he's even moved his office into my hospital room, holding remote video conferences in the adjacent suite. But having Jack around did have its perks. The moment the baby cried, he was there. He was more proactive and responsible than the nanny. And miraculously, the baby would actually stop crying as soon as he held her. Jack named our daughter Sienna. It had two meanings: 1, I love oranges, and 2, he loves me. With Jack around, my postpartum recovery was pretty good. A month later, my figure was mostly back to normal, and I left the hospital full of energy, a stark contrast to Jack, whose dark circles were practically down to his chin. For 30 days and nights, I slept beautifully while Jack got up every night for feedings and diaper changes. He was a qualified dad, I'll give him that. The first thing I did when I got back was summon Tiffany. The traitorous assistant came with Tiffany. Looking at the assistant, I suddenly remembered that I think I was the one who got him promoted. I felt a pang of guilt, recalling how I'd mocked Jack for letting such a screw-up happen in his massive company. I remembered a time Jack and I had a small fight. He had an overseas conference to attend and didn't have time to smooth things over. As I was leaving, I ended up in an elevator with an assistant. The elevator got stuck. I was already upset, and my claustrophobia almost sent me into a panic. The young assistant comforted me the whole time, telling me jokes and keeping his phone's flashlight on. He handled the situation perfectly, was thoughtful, and had high emotional intelligence. At the time, I thought he was pretty capable, so I mentioned it to Jack. Jack already had 4 executive assistants for work, so he made him his personal life assistant. Who knew I'd let a wolf into the house? Tiffany was thrown in front of me by the bodyguards. She snarled at me. Mark is so brilliant, and because of you, he's become nothing more than a glorified butler. I looked at the assistant standing beside her. He actually nodded in agreement, looking indignant. Jack's executive assistants have very high salaries, great benefits, and a lot of power. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to pull strings for Tiffany. I didn't say anything. I just had the bodyguards force them both to turn and look at the screen. On it were Tiffany's chat logs with other people. She was complaining that the assistant wasn't good in bed, that his new job paid poorly and he couldn't buy her anything, and she was asking her friends to set her up with other men. When the assistant saw it, he started fighting with Tiffany. In the end, Tiffany's long nails gave her a narrow victory. What a useless man. I asked him, is this the kind of brilliant you were talking about? Jack didn't even blacklist you completely? You were able to find another job? Well, I guess I'll have to take care of it. It's not my first time. The assistant had just managed to get up, but my words sent him collapsing back to the floor. Tiffany seemed to realize who was behind the blacklisting that had come even before Sterling Corp's official move. She was defiant. What's so great about you? Without Jack, you're nothing compared to me. I had someone bring a mirror and shove it in Tiffany's face. I had her makeup removed right there and shone a bright light on her so she could get a good look at herself. Worse than you? Because your face is cratered like the moon? Because you stuff your bra with socks? Because you can sleep with 5 men in one night? Before I even arrived, the most detailed file on Tiffany had been sent to my email in text, image, and video format. It was so detailed it even had her scores from elementary school pop quizzes. I displayed all her embarrassing moments and shameless acts from childhood to now. All in audio, picture, and video format. On a giant screen with immersive surround sound. There were over 30 sex tapes alone. I don't know why she even bothered with Hollywood when shouting out numbers as lines was her only talent. Porn was clearly her true calling. Every time Tiffany tried to talk back, a bodyguard would slap her. By the end, her face was swollen like a pig's, making her even uglier. I even live-streamed the whole thing, paying to get it trending at #1. The title was exposing the mistress. At the same time, I made sure a 99-page PowerPoint of Tiffany's scandals was distributed to every gossipmonger online. I was confident the 15 married women mentioned in it wouldn't disappoint me with their actions. As for the assistant, he would never work for a good company again. And to prevent him from going back to his family farm, I had people rent all their land. No farming for you. On the drive home, about 50 yards from the estate, there was a loud bang, and I saw a mushroom cloud rise over our property. I told the driver to hurry. Sure enough, there was a new deep pit in the garden. The scene felt strangely familiar. I walked in the door to find Jack in an apron, looking like a proper house husband. "You're back. Just in time for dinner." Looking at the familiar dishes on the table, I think I understood. I tremblingly picked up a piece of potato and put it in my mouth. The taste, I wished I could instantly lose my sense of taste. "Nancy, is it better than last time?" Damn it. So Jack had cooked it all. No wonder he tried to block my view of the pit in the rose garden last time. He was the culprit. "Jack, if you ever cook again, you can sleep on the couch." A thought struck me. I asked tentatively, that castle cake, you made that?" Jack nodded happily. It was the result of him sleeping only 4 hours a day for a week. It was very well done. You're never allowed to do it again. After a long pause, Jack asked cautiously, "Can I still plant the roses?" It turned out Jack had hired professionals to teach him how to cultivate that entire field of roses. After this confession, I pressed him for more details. I learned that most of the things Jack had prepared for me in the past, he had done himself. I cupped his face in my hands and kissed him. "From now on, I'll plant them with you. We'll bring our daughter, too." After having a child, I discovered that Jack had leveled up in every way possible. He turned down countless unnecessary social events, hired several more assistants, and worked from home unless it was absolutely essential to go to the office. Jack hired a professional parenting coach and even took detailed notes. When it came to raising our child, he was both mother and father. Our daughter was very attached to him. Whenever she cried, only her daddy could soothe her. She only wanted me when she was happy and calm. This child was definitely here to repay a kindness. My daughter and I were rosy-cheeked and glowing, while Jack, between work and childcare, grew thinner by the day. His handsome features became more defined. But he took it all in stride and never once complained. Jack said, "Nancy, in this life, aside from giving birth, I can do everything else." And he did. Even as tired and busy as he was, by nightfall, Jack's energy was at 100%, and he never missed a chance for our happy time. We were often up until the middle of the night, and I frequently worried he might die from exhaustion. But the later we stayed up, the more energetic he seemed the next day. Is this some kind of weird male recovery power? Lately, Jack had become mysterious again. Ever since he learned the importance of communication and honesty. He had almost no secrets from me. So when I asked him what was going on, Jack looked at my confused face, his expression hard to read. "Nancy, do you feel like you've forgotten something important?" I thought hard and then shook my head decisively. Jack tried to prompt me. "Our relationship, what should it be for the rest of our lives? We'll be buried together. We can even save on a cemetery plot." Jack gave up trying to explain. He started treating me even better, especially during that period. The dining table was suddenly full of walnuts. Another year passed, and it was my birthday again. This year's celebration was particularly grand. My parents and brother all came back, and we finally had a family reunion dinner. To his credit, this year's meal and cake were made without Jack's involvement. They were exceptionally delicious and beautiful. I was so happy. After dinner, Jack, holding our daughter in one arm and last year's ugly ring box in the other, knelt before me. Nancy, this ring box was used by my father when he proposed. He made it himself. My mother said this box held all her happiness, and now I want to pass that happiness on to you. I will protect you for the rest of my life, and our daughter and I will love you forever. Marry me. He placed the ring in our daughter's tiny hand, and she held it out to me. I took it and put it on. A beautiful ring with 3 roses. Last year's missing birthday gift had returned this year. A huge grin spread across my face, then I quickly flattened my lips. Wait a minute. What about this year's gift? That jerk. Trying to shortchange me again. Several staff members walked up behind Jack and asked for my signature. My mom was beaming, my dad was nodding with a stern face, and my brother had a teasing look in his eyes. I signed the papers in a daze. The next second, I was handed a freshly stamped, official-looking document. A marriage license. Jack looked bashful and leaned in to whisper in my ear, "Your birthday present is me. You can unwrap it tonight." Well, I guess that's okay. Now I have a husband and a baby. My daughter perfectly inherited our good looks and is so cute I have to squish her cheeks every day. When she started learning to talk, I worked hard to teach her to say daddy. My excuse was that her daddy worked the hardest to take care of her, so he should be the first one she calls for. Jack was so moved he got teary-eyed. In reality, once our daughter learned to say daddy. Every time she cried at night, the word was like a siren's call. Since it was the only word she knew, Jack had to get up every single night to check on her. He went from being thrilled to be called daddy to being exhausted and numb. My victory didn't last long. Jack took out all his parenting fatigue on me. He's not reserved at all anymore. Especially after learning that I'd been lusting after his body for years, he's constantly showing off his abs and hitting the gym to stay in shape. As long as there are no guests, he's always shirtless. And his stamina is insane. He has no idea what being tired means. How the tables have turned. Now I'm the one who dresses modestly. I wear 3 layers under my bathrobe, covered from head to toe. And I've developed a love for clothes with lots of ties, because they take longer to undo. After a few times, Jack just started ripping my clothes off. Nancy, for 6 years, every night after seeing you, I had to take a cold shower. 6 years. That's thousands of cold showers. If I had known you wanted me this badly, I never would have held back for so long. So, everything I owe you, I'm going to make up for. With all my love. I love you, my wife. I kissed him back. I knew I had good taste in men. Good inside and out.